Hi everybody, it's Terry with Crafty Book Nerd, here today to share with you what I read in March. I know this is coming a little bit late, but as they say, better late than never. Been a busy schedule going on lately. So anyway, before we do that, you know what time it is. Time for our quote of the day. And today's quote comes from Abraham Lincoln. And it says, "We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or we can rejoice because thorn bushes have roses." So March was a really good reading month for me. I read 9 books in the month of March. Of those, based on my spinning of my wheel, 2 of those were my choice. I was supposed to read 3 new releases. I only read 2 new releases. I read 2 Kindles. I managed to read a NetGalley. I was supposed to read 2 Book of the Months for any year, and I did do that, 2 of those. I had a couple audiobooks and a book club and a book recommended by a friend. So a total of 9 books. So let's get into those, and basically I'm going to be going in the order that I read these. So let's get started. Some of these I have the physical books for. Some of them I no longer have. They had to go back to the library, or they were Kindle, or they were audio. The first one that I finished this month was Lisa Jewell, None of This Is True. And this was a book of the month for August of 2023. This was a psychological thriller, and it had a podcast twist, and that's a theme I'm seeing a lot in books now, and I really like it. So it's about a podcaster named Alex who is celebrating her 45th birthday, and there's another character, Josie, who is also celebrating her birthday, and so they are called birthday twins. And Josie wants Alex to do a podcast about her, and Alex thinks it's kind of strange, but she's curious about Josie, and so she agrees to do that. And Josie has some very dark secrets, and she begins to infiltrate herself into Alex's life. And that's when things get very interesting. So it's very unsettling, it's very good, and even after the ending, I'm questioning myself about who was the victim in this book. And that's Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. Gave this one 4 stars. The next one was an audio book, and that was Do Not Disturb by Frida McFadden. I am loving her books. I'm trying to read her to 0, and once again, this was another one that did not disappoint, another 4-star read for me. This was about Quinn, who is running from a crime that she committed, and she's hoping to start over. However, in the midst of running away, a giant snowstorm comes, and she becomes trapped. And she stays at a hotel that's very run down, and there are strange things going on. But she doesn't have a lot of money, so she's kind of in a financial strain, and so she doesn't have a choice but to stay there again. So, being at this hotel, running away from a crime she committed, she's even in more danger now than from the crime she committed because of the goings-on at the hotel. It was very twisty and dark, and I enjoyed it very much. Do Not Disturb by Frida McFadden. The next one was our book club of the month, and we chose You Again by Kate Goldbeck. You Again by Kate Goldbeck. This book, I almost DNF'd it. If it wouldn't have been a book club book, I probably would have. Could not get into this. It just did not work for me. You know, it's that love-hate trope, and it was too much. I just couldn't deal with it. I gave it 2 stars, and I did not enjoy it at all. The next one was a book from NetGalley. I've been trying to read some NetGalley books, and this one was called Everything We Never Said by Sloane Harlow. Everything We Never Said by Sloane Harlow. This is supposed to be a YA book, but there was a lot of sexual information in here and scenes, and so to me it was more of an adult book, but it is advertised as a YA. It talks about grief, domestic violence. It started out really slow, but then about halfway through it did pick up the pace. Months have gone by, and there was an accident that took Ella's best friend, Haley. And Ella is trying to deal with her grief and her involvement in that. And she becomes involved with Haley's boyfriend, Sawyer. And this is where things begin to get really weird. There were parts of the book that were predictable, but there were also some surprises. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4-star, and I want to say thanks to NetGalley for giving me an early release of Everything We Never Said. The next one was another audiobook, just happened to have the same title as another book I read this month, Do Not Disturb, and this is one by Claire Douglas, and I have also been trying to listen or read to all of her books. She's a new-to-me author this year, and I just really love her writing style and the way her stories go, and the audios are really good. I highly recommend the audiobook. I gave this one 4 stars. This is about a family that opens a guest house in Welsh Mountains. They're trying to rebuild their life after a dramatic event has happened. It's Christy, her husband, and her 2 girls, and Christy's mother. And so they're getting ready to open up this guest house. And as they're doing that, someone from Christy's past shows up, a cousin named Selma. And Selma shows up with her daughter named Ruby. Ruby is not a well child. And so they let them into their home, even though Christy is not crazy about this, but she is encouraged by her mother to do so. So as things go on in the story, they get very interesting as we learn more about the past events, about Christy, her family, and we realize that they may be in danger. So once again, Claire Douglas, she kept me glued to the story. So many things were unpredictable in this one, and I was a bit surprised how everything ended. I loved it. It was very good. Some of the topics that it did include were murder, domestic violence, infidelity, mental health, and parenting. But it was a good one. I highly recommend the audio of Do Not Disturb by Claire Douglas. The next one was also an audio. I did a lot of audio books this year, and it was also a my choice, and that's Listen for the Lie by Amy Tinteria. This one you have to do the audio. There's no question about it, because it is basically a whole podcast element to this that really makes the story. And so you need to really listen to the audio. This was one of my 5-star reads for this month. I could not stop listening to this. I was listening to it everywhere, even sitting in my car when I got home from somewhere trying to wrap up a chapter because I didn't want to stop. In this story, we have Lucy, and everyone thinks that Lucy has killed her best friend, Savvy. But Lucy cannot remember what happened the night that Savvy died, and there is not enough evidence for her to be arrested. But another character enters the story named Ben, and Ben is a podcaster who wants, of course, to find out the truth of what happened to Savvy on that night. And so he begins to interview people and start digging to get to the truth. And he has help from somebody you wouldn't expect. He has help from Lucy, because she also wants to know what happened, because she cannot remember, and she really hopes that she did not kill her best friend. And so we go back and forth between what's happening right now, so it's kind of a dual timeline, and then we look at the past events of her trying to remember and the different players that were involved in that night that Savvy was killed. I highly recommend it. It was a bit unpredictable for me. I did not quite figure out the end. And so that was a nice surprise. I definitely recommend the audio on Listen for the Lie by Amy Tinteria. The next one is another one that was my choice, and that is Going Zero by Anthony McCarten. It was also a book that a friend told me about, that she said she thought that I would enjoy this one. And it was kind of dystopian, and I think that's why she said that, because I do love dystopian. This is another 4-star for me. I'm telling y'all, March was a great month for me. So think about this. Could you disappear for 30 days so that you could win $3 million in cash? Sounds easy enough. Just disappear for 30 days. Well, it's not as easy as it sounds, because as we all know, in this technology world, you can be tracked so easily through cell phones, through GPSs, you can be tracked. Well, a man from a company decides, Cy Baxter from Fusion, he wants to prove that his company can find anybody, anywhere, in the world, that he can track them down. And so he gets a group of people he selects, and they have to go zero. That means they have to disappear for 30 days. They have to get rid of their cell phones. They have to do everything they can not to be found if they want to win the $3 million. And what he gets out of the deal is if he finds everybody and no one remains unfound for those 30 days, he gets a $100 billion contract with the government. Caitlin is one of the main characters in here that goes zero, and it's very interesting to see all the things that she does to try to go zero, and it made me start thinking about what would I do if I wanted to go zero. It was good. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was 4 stars, and we learned that Caitlin has her own agenda, and I really liked the ending. The ending was probably my favorite part. So I highly recommend Going Zero by Anthony McCarten. The next one was a book that I got in 2023, and it's kind of been on my shelf, and I've been wanting to get a hold of it and read it because I love the cover for one thing, and that's Our Hideous Progeny by C.E. McGill. Look at that cover. It's just so cool. And when you look at the cover and then you read the book, you start realizing what all these little pieces and how they were in the story. It looks like my cat had a good time. She kind of chewed here on the end. Bad kitty. So in this story, we're following Mary, who is the niece of Victor Frankenstein. In the 1850s, Victor Frankenstein went missing in the Arctic. He disappeared, and Mary really wants to know what happened to him. And so she begins to do a little bit of digging. And when she does this digging, she discovers some papers about what happened with the disappearance. And she becomes very interested in this because she has discovered something that she hopes can change her life and help her make a small fortune and a name for herself. But in the 1850s, we learned that women in academia are not treated with the same respect as men. And so she has a hard time doing some of the things she wants to do. Most of the book at the beginning was really slow. I probably did not get into the story until over halfway, probably about 60% before I really got glued to it. It was just kind of slow. But then the last 40%, it was like bam, bam, bam. There was so much happening, and I was trying to keep up with everything, and I was reading like crazy. It's gothic. Some of the science stuff was a little bit tedious to understand beyond, my science knowledge. But the ending was crazy. It was believable. It was violent. But overall, I enjoyed Our Hideous Progeny by C.E. McGill, and I gave this one 4 stars. And then the last one that I read for the month of March was a book recommended by a friend called The Mother-Daughter Murder Night by Nina Simon. And I did not know, but this was also a Reese's Book Pick Club. I only gave this one 3 stars. It was probably one of my, other than the 2-star one of my least favorite books. It was a debut novel, and so for debut, a 3-star is not bad. That's, right in the middle and just a good read. It's a mystery, but not one that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat like I like. It's kind of a slow burn. We have our main character, Lena, and her daughter, Beth. And Beth's teenage daughter, Jacqueline, we call Jack for short. So we have 3 generations of women living together. They had been estranged for quite some time, the mother and the grandmother had been estranged until Lena calls her daughter Beth and tells her that she has been diagnosed with cancer and she needs help and she needs to stay with her. And so she goes to move in with her daughter so her daughter can take care of her. Well, Lena becomes very bored sitting around while Jack's doing her thing and her daughter's at work. So she begins to spy on things happening in the neighborhood, and she sees something outside her window. And then later on in the story, her granddaughter discovers a body, and the police want to pin this murder on Jack, the granddaughter, Jacqueline. And so what happens is the 3 generations, the grandmother, the mother, and the daughter, bond together to try to figure out what actually happened because they know that Jacqueline did not commit this murder. It was fun and it was entertaining. It was good. What I did enjoy most about this book was the author notes, because we learned that the purpose of this book was that the author's mother actually had cancer, and she wrote this book to help her deal with that. And so I enjoyed it. Like I said, I gave it 3 stars. So there you have it, my 9 books that I read for March. It was a very good reading month for me. I'm very happy, and I've already read several books for April. Can't wait to share those with you. Just a reminder, if you haven't checked out the prize video, I am now only 6 people away from 500. When I've reached 500, I'm giving away prizes. And so you need to watch the prize video and make sure you comment to that video, because that's where I will generate the names from those comments to do my drawing. And I'll link that in the description box below that goes with this video. So thanks if you're new to my channel. If you've been here a while, I appreciate your loyalty and staying with me. And if you have any ideas of videos you want me to do, please share that in the comments, and I'll do my best to accommodate you. So I'm on to see what I can read for the month of April. Everybody have a great day.